Lime vibe, come let me lime, come let me vibe. Lime vibe, come let me lime, come let me vibe. Lime vibe, lime vibe.
So, good night, everybody, and welcome once again to another LimeVibe Live podcast. I am your host, Buff Daddy, Yori Kemp, with the host, my co-host, Ms. Kimberly Ramkalawan. How are you, Kim?
I'm fine, Yuri. How are you?
All is good, all is good. Here in Nassau, Bahamas is beautiful. We having it's jumping over here because they have the CARICOM heads government meeting here for the rest of the week, right? And so everyone's here just buzzing and live, man. So we have a lot of excitement going on here.
A lot of activity going on by you guys there.
Yeah. We had John Kerry, the former Secretary of State for the United States, here last night. He gave a speech at the U.S. Embassy to all the Caribbean heads of government. He pledged the United States support for climate justice. I think right now he's the climate envoy for the United States. So he pledged on behalf of the United States his support for the Caribbean leaders in their fight against climate change. And so that was exciting last night. And then we have the opening ceremonies for the CARICOM heads of government meeting tonight, right? It's held at the Atlantis Paradise Island. So it's going on right now. And actually, we were listening to a bit of it before we came on live. Where we came.
Yeah, they had just honored Dame Janet Bostic, your former Attorney General, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was quite interesting to hear her speak. It was very passionate when it came to women's rights and being the first woman to ascend to such a position in the Bahamas.
Yes. The first woman to be elected to Parliament in the Bahamas, Miss Janet Bostwick. She won the Triennial Award for Caribbean women, didn't she? So yes, we're very proud of Miss Bostwick, the Honorable Janet Bostwick. I'm sorry, the Honorable Janet Bostwick. And so yeah, she received her award tonight. And so yeah, they have a lot going on tonight. They're going to be speaking until about, I think, 11 o'clock or so. And then until about 9:30, I think. And then they're gonna have like a little cocktail reception, and then everyone's gonna rub shoulders and talk and chit chat and talk about what they're gonna talk about, tomorrow. So the real festivities start tomorrow with all the breakout rooms and all the speeches and presentations. So the night is just a club and the what you call it, the pomp and pageantry. And but you need that. So yeah. And so we have Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, is here as well too.
Yeah. I think Director General from the World Trade Organization, she is there. There's quite a large international audience, quite a large international contingent present in the Bahamas, looking and watching to participate and listen to the deliberations at this year's 44th CARICOM Heads of Government regular meeting currently.
Yes.
I think right now your Prime Minister is speaking. He's welcoming his guests as he has now accepted the position as chairmanship of CARICOM for the next year. Outgoing chairman, President Santoki of Suriname, just passed it on, and they spoke about what they had gotten last year, achieved in the last year or so.
Yeah, but you were at last year's event, weren't you?
Yes, I was there in Suriname covering it. What was interesting is, well, obviously oil and gas is trumping everything right now. They had given him chairmanship of a new quasi cabinet to look into industrial policy, and that's a first for the CARICOM because you've got quasi cabinets when it comes to foreign exchange policy, to the CSME and things like that, but never industrial. I think our Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, he is the chairman for the energy sector. So industrial looks at bringing in investors into the region to set up business, and his role. He obviously spoke about the South to South relations with Africa. Companies coming and setting up or either going to set up industry, manufacturing, light manufacturing, whatever it may be. It's interesting to see how that new chairmanship role will take shape in the coming years, because it's now being established. You're now looking at CARICOM policies to come under that heading. I'm not sure what they're going to deliberate on. So that might be one of the topics. 3 areas I think they're going to talk about is foreign community relations, security, and I think that's why America and Canada is involved, as well as climate change.
Yeah. Speaking about security, the security has heightened to the T. I mean, they threatened a small protest on the outside of the CARICOM meeting, and that was spotted about a mile up from where the actual meeting place is going to be at the Bahama, at the Grand Hyatt of the Bahama, and that was spotted just like that. I mean, even some reporters were even threatened to be arrested. They blocked them all off, all the protests, and anyone who even seemed to be like they wanted to be a part of it, they were, carted off the scene and they were moved out of view, because there are a lot of high dignitaries there. And it's not just like how you said, the Caribbean leaders, but a lot of outside delegates as well, from the World Trade Organization, from the United States, from Canada. So they're all here and they're all trying to have a peaceful time at this CARICOM meeting. It should not be marred by any protests, because what's there to protest about? I mean, what game are you trying to prove? We only talk about. Yeah, CARICOM isn't doing anything. It's not like this, like the World Trade 1996 meeting in Seattle, where you had the people on the outside in Seattle. They were throwing rocks, and they had the place barred off because they didn't want the GATS, and they didn't want the new World Trade Organization agreement. So it's not like that was Seattle back in '96. This is the Bahamas. This is CARICOM. What are we protesting about?
What were they picking at? What was their whole basis for protesting? What were they picketing about?
This group, this faction in Bahamas called the Coalition of the Independents, is led by a gentleman called Lincoln Bain, and he's protesting against Haitian immigration in the Bahamas, and he wants the Bahamas to take stronger steps towards controlling immigration, the Haitian population, the growth of the Haitian population in the Bahamas. And so it's becoming a real sticky issue, and it's a racist issue as well too, And so they want to charge people up into this foaming froth of anti-Haitian sentiment in the Bahamas. And it's picking up some steam. Yeah. It's a dangerous game to play too, because you don't know how far this is going to go, You don't want any ethnic strife, and I'm glad they shut it down. And Lincoln Bain is playing a dangerous game with that, a very dangerous game with that. Because everyone right now, they have a feeling as if they're being overrun by the Haitian population there. And so you're putting people on edge. And so you don't want people to have to react to anything that they feel may be a threat to their livelihood. Because you don't know what people are going to do. Remember the Rwandan genocide? Now it just popped up out of nowhere off of just some radio broadcasts. And all of a sudden there was a pogrom against the Hutus, it was, right? The Hutus, yeah, it was a pogrom against the Hutus. And so you don't know how it's going to play out. You just don't know. So you got to be careful. And these people, they do things, they don't think about these things, Kim. They don't think about these things. They don't think about them. They're only into their selfish political ambition, whatever political ambition he thinks he has, into their selfish ambition. Because the Coalition of Independence ain't going nowhere. Let's be honest, all right? It's not a real, it's a coalition of independence. And they're trying to portray themselves as the not party. How can you say you're not a party and you're actually a coalition of independence? So you cannot be a coalition of independence. You're either independent or you're not. So they need to stop it, man. It's just foolishness gone awry. And here we are again, Bahamians with our lackadaisical attitude. Instead of nipping some of these things in the bud, we letting it metastasize, we letting it grow to the point where it's going to be absolutely unstoppable to stop. And you can tell he's being funded by some political organization. You can tell he's being funded by somebody, or he's being propped by somebody. So, if they want to sit on their tail end, that's fine. But I don't want my country to be destabilized by any foolishness, because these things can go out of hand. Before the last election, 2017, there was this We March group. And they had thousands of people on Bay Street that was willing to kick Prime Minister Christie out of office. And I was surprised they raised that much people to come downtown to protest against the former Christie administration, but they did. And that was too close to me. But anyway, I don't want to go all in out of that, but they were arrested this afternoon. Thank goodness. Thank God. Thank you, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, for arresting those protesters before they disturbed the CARICOM because they had no issue to be protesting. Thank you very much, Royal Bahamas Police Force. Thank you. Even though a few journalists got roughed up as well, and a few cameramen got roughed up, some casualties, and they're going to get over it. Yeah, they're going to get it. But once that protest will stop, thank you. Because Ariel Henry is here as well too. The Haitian Prime Minister is here too, actually. It's very rude. It's very rude, I think.
That's xenophobia playing its part there, raising its
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're just trying to send a message to the community that they're tired of the Haitian. I mean, I know you live there, so you would have an understanding. And they would have probably heard that Haiti is going to be on talks, because I think SG Carla Barnett, Dr. Carla Barnett, she
Yes.
had said earlier this week that they were actually sending troops to help try and stabilize the situation there. And
Now, is
someone
that
had asked your prime minister if they had felt safe enough to go visit, and they said no. I think Brave said that no one feels safe entering into the country.
no,
You know,
absolutely not.
the instability did not make anyone feel safe, you know. So
And
Haiti is on the agenda because that's part of security. That's part of Caribbean stability. I know we spoke, we exhausted the topic of Haiti a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Is going to be quite on the agenda this year and
Yeah.
this week.
And our defense forces around the region, we catch fishermen, wayward fishermen, a few drug dealers every now and then. We don't go into full scale war. I mean, these guys, they say they're military, they say they're armed services, but they're really not. They're guys who part-time this, They drink full time. That's what they do, They aren't trained military like the United States or Britain, So they're gonna go into they're gonna make a mess and they're gonna get hurt. Let's be honest with you, right? So I think we exhausted this about a week ago, and we said that the United States need to play a more proactive role in Haiti. And I don't want to go over that again, but they need to play a more proactive role. The Caribbean, while we want to help them, we should join a coalition that the United States is leading, but we shouldn't be leading no coalition to go into Haiti. What do we do? We have no skin in that game.
I think Prime Minister Holness of Jamaica, he said that they were forming a multinational security force to respond to this. I mean, Haiti's government made the call since last year, October, calling for that support to send soldiers, send police officers. Is the Bahamas up to doing that? How large of your defense force is there that they are able to lend soldiers and troops to this multinational security force?
If we could muster 50 defense force Marines go in any international coalition, that would be a lot. That would be a lot, To be honest with you, I think that while the heart will be willing, the flesh is weak. And so I think it's just a bunch of talk until we see a larger country get involved. And then we'll join on and some kind of training mission just to get our boys from training, right? But otherwise than that, we're not going to see that the Bahamas take a leading role in that. I don't see that. We just don't have the manpower and the capacity to do it, and the experience to do
it. It's things like this that gives our troops some kind of experience and carrying themselves. God forbid something major were to happen in the region. You need to have kind of unity, that united force among our troops, multinational troops working together to secure our borders, to secure the region. They just can't. I mean, our defense force, they don't really have anything to deal with on a daily basis. They're not at war.
No, exactly. They eat doubles and drink rum.
They live quite good. They drive around in vehicles. You're seeing a lot of regiment men. A lot of the bullets, fly. When you see murders happening, you're hearing that their guns are being utilized for committing these crimes. So it lends you to wonder, what are they up to while they're not doing defending and protecting our borders, or Coast Guard as well. I could understand the Coast Guard. Those men, they're always, on the defense because we have quite a large maritime space. It's sometimes difficult to even get them out when our fishermen go missing and things like that. But I mean, we really need to come together, and I would really like to see this happen. Take some experience. The only time you see them come out is in the time of natural disasters. Okay, we're going to send our troops across to St. Vincent and Grenada.
Yeah. But Haiti's a whole different animal, man. And then you have the Dominican Republic to deal with as well. And so, you don't want to get the lines blurred with that, because it could turn nasty. I just don't like the idea of we need professional soldiers over there. But anyway, they're going to talk about this week, and let's see what comes out of these speeches as well. Because I'd like to see what they come up with. Because this may be a more significant meeting than I thought it would have been, because they may have some resolution out of this, some firm resolution out of this. So we'll see.
But
We'll see.
the migration problem it is testament of the current political instability and environment in Haiti. So it is spilling over to CARICOM neighbors. So they do have to respond. They
Yes,
do have to come together with something solid, because you cannot be putting pressure and causing such discomfort to your CARICOM members.
Yeah. And while they're probably speaking tonight, there's probably about 2 boatloads of Haitians right now on the way to the Bahamas. One with 100, one with 150. I know. They're on their way. They're on their way. Yeah. And it's sad we can't take them all in, because they're coming for a better life. But we just can't take anymore, man. We just can't take anymore. It's a burden. And then it's a humanitarian crisis now as well, because like I told you about the large enclave that was in Abaco before Hurricane Dorian. Thousands of people were in that, man. And so they come over here, they think they're going to get jobs and they think they're going to get access to better facilities, but they end up being slaves. And when I walked to be as a candidate for one of the elections here back in 2000, when did I run? 2017, right? Yeah, I ran in 2017. There were a few shanty towns in my constituencies as well. And the stories I heard from some of those people that were living there, you're talking about women who were raped religiously, you're talking about drug deals, you're talking about people living in absolute squalor. I mean, we talk about shanty towns, oh no, it's a shanty town, but no, what goes on in the shanty towns is something totally different, man. It's something that you would not believe what happens in the Bahamas or any developed country, any sensible developed country. Or even a developing country. I mean, I spoke to a young girl. She said she was raped. She's raped at least about 3 or 4 times a week. And she can't report because she's illegal. Because she doesn't want to leave the country, but she's assaulted at least 3 times a week.
And the same is happening with our Venezuelan community here in Trinidad. And if you go down to a southwest peninsula of Cedros, the Caracas there, the United Nations Humanitarian Organization is actually set up, a service there. And they were trying to hand it back to the Trinidad government, saying, okay, we did the initial stages, you all need to step in now. But they've got quite a large community living on the beach itself. They've set up tents, they've set up little shacks on the beach in Cedros. And they're arriving there.
Wow.
You've got a port of entry, but it's only so much they can, take in. You've got a port of entry there. You usually see boats coming in like ferries. They operate like little ferries between Venezuela and Trinidad. Most of them would make their way from that southwest peninsula all the way to our city in San Fernando to get goods and services. They would pack up their boats and then they would sail back to Venezuela. But some of them are staying here as well.
Wow. But you have a problem with Venezuela. They're light-skinned people. I was surprised you guys having a problem with the Venezuelans, because they're light-skinned people, aren't they? They're the white people, right?
Yeah, they're the light-skinned ones, but culture, it's not a matter of skin color. It's a matter it's strange right now. You're driving down the highway and you're seeing them in groups walking on the shoulder of the highway. I mean, you don't see white people walking your street just like that. In our culture, prior to the Venezuelans arriving, the white people you would see is when you go up to our west coast in Port of Spain, northwest, right? They're the local whites, they're the local Portuguese, the Syrians, they're the fair-skinned ones. And to see this kind of people now, in your average neighborhood grocery and things like that. Now, I've had some run-ins with a few of them. It's not too comfortable, honestly.
I know, right?
They bring their own culture and they usurp their authority, and they're quite very bold. And it's like, I think of myself as any Caribbean national, even when we travel abroad and you go to another country, there's a certain level of humility, and you're okay, we're following our culture, we're trying to abide with everything. But they come in and they do as they want to do, and
Yeah. The Latin Americans are pretty aggressive, aren't they?
Yeah, it's very, very aggressive. I mean, my husband and I, we were in Price Mart it's like our local Walmart here. and we were waiting on an order, and someone came and they sat down and they opened their box and it's like, you need to move out. It's like, well, great, you know. And then if you were we have taxi services, we share taxis. It's not like one taxi per person like in the States. They jump into the taxi and they're big bone and they're heavy and they ram you and squeeze you, and it's like,
Wow.
I am tiny compared to them. They're heavy, they're solid, and they can really put
There's
up
a huge
on
culture clash. There's a huge
Yeah,
culture clash.
but
I know. So you can imagine that what you're feeling in Trinidad right now, the Venezuelans. You could imagine that in the Bahamas times 100.
definitely. I mean, in Trinidad, I believe our population has probably gone up by 250,000 or even more.
All of that? Wow.
I mean, we talk about the registration process here in Trinidad, but it's not up to date. And they're not really counting the amount because there are a lot here that aren't registered or legal. They come in and they settle, and all lawmakers, all law enforcement, they're not strict to ensure that, hey, you get regulated. If they catch them in something, you know, that's not right, they get arrested and they get deported. But my heart does go out to them, especially some of the women and children. I see some of the men too, and they're trying their best to earn an honest dollar. Some of them are quite educated. Some of them, you know, are just doing what they need to do to survive. I mean, there are some that are different, but majority of them are here and just trying to make a better life for themselves in the meantime, perhaps. I don't think
It's not their fault.
because everyone looks down on Trinidad right now, especially cost of living and you know.
But you know something, it's not their fault that they have a despotic rule in Nicholas Maduro. I mean, man, we spoke about it before. I mean, it's not their fault that, you know, it's not Haiti's fault as if they have leadership problems for the past 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it is their fault really, because they could change that anytime they want. All right. But it's just that right now, I think Venezuela is taken over by Nicolas Maduro, and there's nothing much they can do about it unless they try to, you know, do something unthinkable, which I think nobody should do. But let's see if they can win another election, or the opposition can win another election. But otherwise than that, they're stuck until he's gone. It's sad. I have a friend who I went to university with, Armando Daniel, and he was an opposition parliamentarian, and now he's in hiding now. He's traveling the world. He's one day he's in, I wouldn't say his location, but one day he's in Europe, one day he's in Asia, and he's just traveling because this cartel that surrounds Nicolas Maduro is this cartel of the sun. Have you heard of that?
No.
The cartel of the sun.
Probably read about it.
Yeah, that's a cartel that allegedly covers the Nicolas Maduro regime, and they're, you know, brutal. They deal drugs, they deal with gold, contraband gold and guns, and so, you know, he's been running from them for the past 6 years now, just on the run from one country to the next, and they've threatened his family in Venezuela as well, and so he can't return to Venezuela. He would love to, but he can't return. If you search, if you go to YouTube and you search Armando Daniel Amas, and you'll see that he had a lot of interviews before he actually left the country, before he actually left Venezuela. And he was one of those parliamentarians that were arrested and beaten by the Maduro regime as well. And so you'll see YouTube videos about Armando Daniel Amas. And he's a good friend of mine. I knew him from college. And he's just waiting to see the regime change in Venezuela. Wherever he is right now, Armando, hello. I hope you're holding strong, Armando. You know, but yeah, I hope your country, my country, never gets to that point where we have a leader that we just can't get rid of. You know, we complain a lot about our guys, but our guys are pretty tame and pretty calm compared to what they have in some parts of the world. You know? They're pretty tame.
I mean, yeah, but oh yeah, I guess so. I'm not going to bad talk mine.
Yeah.
But one of my friends, he's a reporter here in Trinidad. He's half Venezuelan and half Trinidadian. He still has quite a good links with the Venezuelan embassy. And he was telling me, it's like, if they can come Trinidad, Why is it they don't stay there and fight for their countries? Like, and what are you doing? You're here. You benefited from the money.
Yeah. Hypocritical, ain't he?
Yeah, if you really want to talk about it, you need to go and do something about it.
Yeah.
So, but I think that there some of them, I've listened to them speak and they seem to be brainwashed with the communism, that they are pro-communist and they believe that's the way and they're all, boastful of their country and all of that. So,
Pro-communist.
yeah.
They're delirious then.
So he's also, he's quite vocal and he promotes a lot of the communist regimes around the world and the links Venezuela has with them, Russia, so even India, whatever business relations they have with them, and Cuba. Quite vocal.
Speaking of Russian communism, I mean, Vladimir Putin dismissed communism at least about 3 years ago. He was talking to a group of Russian bureaucrats, and he told them straight point blank, say, I think we all know that communism is a failed idea. That's Vladimir Putin saying that. He's a free marketeer.
He's benefited from it and he continues to propagate it still.
Well, he believes in the free markets now. He's reformed.
He's reformed, at least according to in his mind, and what he said.
Yeah, and the war still rages on, but let's not jump to Ukraine. We got plenty of problems here in the Caribbean.
Affecting us here down in south,
Yeah.
Fertilizer, and we've got enough problem. Like if the pandemic was not enough, a war with 2 countries in Eastern Europe has affected us here in the Caribbean.
Yes.
And it's a lot, because of it, we've had, soaring oil and gas prices. And right now you've got the oil and gas expo happening in Guyana. That's the other thing that's happening in the Caribbean. So a lot happening in the region this week.
Okay.
So President Irfan Ali has welcomed quite a number of potential investors to Guyana, because they're becoming what they're calling it, the Dubai of the West.
Yeah.
Because of how much oil and gas earnings they're making. Their entire economy has transformed because of that. In Trinidad, we've shut down our refinery, and our Prime Minister was heard yesterday in his opening speech at the expo, calling for all those big companies such as ExxonMobil and Shell and Hess that, hey, we've got a refinery here, but you shut down the refinery a few years ago.
Yeah. Everyone was that puzzled me. Why did he shut down the refinery? Because I was talking to a Trinidadian friend of mine here, and he said that because the refinery just was costing too much to actually run.
It was costing too much because of how they had the union, right? Now that's another story to it, because there's a whole scandal with AV oil and gas. I'm not going to go there because that might be inflammatory, and I don't want to cause. Don't say. He shut it down. It closed down because he said it was not making money. Petrotrin workers, that's the oil and gas. That's the name of the oil refinery, Petrotrin, state agency. It was heavily unionized. The workers were collecting quite a good bit of money, and they said that was the downfall of it. But the thing is, it was in existence at least it's been 100 years since we've been refining oil. Last year made it 100 years. They call it black gold. It was all black gold.
Yeah.
Decimated the industry by shutting down the refinery. We had some of the best crude oil here in Trinidad. I'm not sure what's happening with the new companies that they established, Heritage Petroleum, and there's been, talk of Nikon gas. Right now we're buying or purchasing oil because we're not refining. So he's been trying to sell that. We had our own energy conference a few weeks ago, and President Ali was here. And he was asked, or our Prime Minister Rowley was asked, have you spoken to him about it? But last night, we have a refinery here, and he was basically pimping off downstream and upstream sector. We've got the ammonia plants, methanol plants, and natural gas infrastructure already established. But President Ali has said that he already has Statsoli in Suriname nearby, and they've got Brazil. If they've got to go towards a refinery, it's going to be their nearby neighbors right on land.
Yeah.
Got Brazil and they've got Suriname. To come to Trinidad, the infrastructure will be too much.
Yeah.
You know, that would be new headway you've got to establish.
Yeah.
And right now they've established a floating refinery, and they're even building up an island off Guyana, an artificial island that would support, you know, the gas sector for when LNG tanks and all those things were to start to come on stream.
Really, Irfan Ali is really spending the money, ain't he?
But he's getting the money. I mean, if you've got big corporations like ExxonMobil, you've got Hess, you know, what are you going to do? And yesterday I even heard that he was talking about forming some bilateral agreements, selling blocks, energy blocks to countries like India, Brazil, even Qatar. You know, and ExxonMobil is looking at establishing a consortium. So he's coming up with innovative ways of you know, ensuring that he gets, you know, support, long-term support for the oil and gas sector.
Okay. It's not like he's a leader with his head on his shoulders. Now I see why they were so afraid of David Granger taking advantage of this oil boom, because you know, from what you're saying, that Irfan Ali really is a competent individual, isn't he?
I can't really vouch for him. I'm just listening to what he is saying. So I'm looking at it from a reporter's perspective.
Okay.
So it's interesting. I've never really seen that happen. But he's talking about, you know, allocating these blocks to these countries. I don't know how is that going to take shape, you know, with these bilateral agreements. And I'm sure a lot of countries are going to come on board, but that also gives you some kind of long-term stability, as in, okay, well, we've got partnered countries now with a sectored interest, a financial interest, a stake in it, stake in our oil and gas industry. So this is why we need to keep, I guess he's doing that also with the world championing towards the greenhouse gases, that, you know, curbing that, climate change and all of that. So if you've got these other nations in your backing, there's no way you can really put a stop on it.
Yeah. That makes sense. But speaking of blocks, I think the Bahamas wanted to start selling Caribbean carbon credits, right? And they want to start a Caribbean exchange for carbon credits as well. That was fluffy talk. They haven't made any progress on it thus far. Hopefully they'll talk about it this week at the CARICOM heads meeting. CARICOM heads a government meeting, and we'll see how that takes shape. But there's another thing that came about the agenda that popped up when I was listening to some of our politicians. They said that they want to build, they want to increase airlift around the region as well. They want to have their own version, not their own version, but they want to actually increase the amount of transportation between the islands, because that's a big problem. Because, you know, people who want to go from Jamaica to Barbados, they have to travel to Miami, then back to Barbados, then they want to go back, to Miami, then back to Jamaica. And so it's a huge logistical problem. And so they want to take regional airlines and they want to make it more connected. They want the Bahamas Air to start servicing some other Caribbean islands as well. So we're going to see how it works. We're looking at the feasibility of it, from what I understand. But yeah, they want to increase the airlift around the region, and the demand has to increase as well. You know, the demand has to increase. Just can't be one person on a 20 or 30 seater plane or 50 seater plane. It has to be a significant amount of people who want to travel back and forth to the Bahamas and travel from the Bahamas back to somewhere else. And so, but that's always been an issue here in the Caribbean. Hasn't this airlift, yeah.
Since we had problems with Liat. Liat was never on time, but Liat actually, and for a while, Trinidad did not have service to Suriname. Suriname Airways only came back on stream. Caribbean Airlines, which is based in Trinidad, was servicing the entire region. But now a lot of people are complaining that, you know, they're getting a little too arrogant with it because they've got the monopoly on most international service here in the region. Plus, they're also servicing, the diaspora coming from the United States to Trinidad. A lot of
Okay.
the big airlines, even if you're coming from Europe, you usually drop off either Miami or New York, and you take a connecting flight back to the Caribbean. Got back KLM recently, and I'm not sure if they're sticking around too much, because that's the airline that you use to head towards Europe. And then Virgin Airlines came back, but they went back. Well, they cut their contract short. They've made way for British Airways. So it's British Airways right now is the airline of choice, believe it or not. If you want to go to islands like to Barbados, to Antigua, to Dominica, if
British
you want,
Airways.
so if Trinidadians want to go there, that's the route they take. Because it's a stop off point to pick up more passengers before heading to England. So that's those are big airlines. Those are big airplanes, and if it's feasible to be stopping off that much, I'm not sure. The airline will have to look at that too. So it's really important right now, since Liat has dropped the ball and Liat is no longer around. Everyone has to go to Miami.
I thought the Antigua government bought Liat.
They had to pay off. It's closed. It's right now a defunct airline. I don't see that happening. There's talks of inter-island ferry happening. Barbados trying to put that in works with the private sector there. They're trying to get the private sector on board that would support an initiative like that. Because obviously states alone cannot, the states cannot fund that.
No.
To me, I think when states enter, governments enter, you run mismanagement, funds, things like that. If the private sector is in charge, I think they will make it double. Hey, it's for us. And then they're going to make it a dual carriage, a dual transport mode. So you're not just transporting people, you're transporting cargo as well. That is where the trade comes in. So you're able to ship your bananas, your produce, your provisions, things like that, back and forth. And that's what we need right now, if we are to truly be our brother's keeper and make the Caribbean a smaller place.
And increase our food production, right? And
definitely. And I think it's going to happen, because if we're talking about food, ramping up food production, with people like Mia and Irfan Ali doing that, we gotta make this happen. It's costing Barbados, I think, about 500 million, about $1 billion, 5 billion, to put in place something that is effective, that would be, stopping off Dominica, Antigua, even coming to Grenada and Trinidad. I'm not sure if they wanted to actually go from Barbados to Guyana too, because they're trading the goat and the sheep meat.
Okay. The ruminants, I guess. And small ruminants too. Yeah, I know. And to think about it, now I'm really starting to put my mind around this agricultural network and this framework that they want to build in the Caribbean. Because like you said, they're trading between Barbados and Guyana right now. And we need a serious investment to make sure these linkages are strengthened by strengthening things like a inter-island ferry, like strengthening things like packing houses in different countries. And it has to be a regional network. It has to be a regional network owned by the private sector to make that grow. And I think at the end of the day, it could be done, but it takes a lot of work, and the states have to get out of the way. But alas, once government gets involved, at least for 5 seconds, they want to own it, and then it's going to mess up. But let's pray. Let's hope they can come up with a mechanism that's going to invite the private sector along and this food production push, because the government's can't.
SIPs. I mean, public sector investment programs, but you also see that public-private partnership, PPPs,
Yes.
That's what we need. Governments can't be doing it all. And they realize that it's too much bubble, we call it in Trinidad. Too much.
And you don't want them doing it anyway.
No. I honestly think we would see it more efficient.
Absolutely. Well, Miss Kim. So this CARICOM meeting is going to go until Friday. They're going to have the ending ceremony on Friday, and let's see what else they have to say. I think we said they're going to talk about climate change. They're going to talk about the Haiti crisis. They're going to talk about airlift. And they're going to talk about food production, from what I've heard as well. And some other little bits and pieces as well. Some other clothes. I mean, they need to talk about the violence and the guns as well, too, you know. They need to talk about the violence and the guns.
As part of security. So
Yeah, security, yeah.
happening in security. And I think from the CARICOM impact perspective and the Council for National Security and Council, so they had a meeting back in October, and I think they're going to see what they're ratifying from that moving forward. And then obviously CSRME, those are the 6 items on the agenda: foreign and community relations, security, climate change, energy, agriculture and food security, and the CSME. So all
The
those
CSME needs to die.
No, I'm actually all for it. Because
But it's not moving forward, though.
it has not. Right, last year in Trinidad, we actually had to change some of our laws when it came to allowing foreign labor. And it all comes back down to local, to each individual government and to each regime, and how they view opening up their labor markets for foreign labor, for other labor. Right now, Trinidad benefits heavily from the CSME in the sense that we have quite a labor force from Jamaica here in Trinidad, and they work in the security forces. So whenever you go to a supermarket or grocery, any government office, you see Jamaican security guards. And they're the ones that are doing the work here. So Trinidad benefits from that. I can say that much.
Wow. The only thing we get is Jamaican maids and Jamaican teachers. I mean, I don't want to sound racist or xenophobic, but yeah, I think we're flooded with them, to be honest with you. And so we need more than just services. We need a significant trade between the regions. Like you said, we need to boost agriculture and agricultural production. Because when they come here, I don't want them to end up like the Haitians that are here right now. Because we have a problem where we can't get enough work for Haitians to do.
It's
living into work.
Labor. And that's what it is. It's skilled labor.
Yeah.
What are the efficiencies that each country has? And what is it you can borrow from our neighboring islands?
Yes.
We've got to look at it from that perspective.
Yes.
Here in Trinidad, we've got the deficiency of healthcare workers, nurses. So that's why we've got the agreement with Cuba and I think the Philippines. Their nursing staff, they've sent nurses across here. Because a lot of our nursing staff have migrated to England, where it's more lucrative. They've got better, they get better packages and remuneration for their services there.
Yeah, our nurses migrate to the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's always a shortage of nurses everywhere in the Caribbean. And I don't know if we just don't train more.
So I see it with through the University of the West Indies. You see, the types of skilled labor that you might be needing, like engineers. Right now, our engineers might even want to go and work in Cuba with what's happening, and not Cuba, Guyana.
Yeah.
Yeah, the CSME works in that way.
Yeah.
People need skilled labor wherever you've got oil and gas refineries. Even some places are asking for electrical engineers, that kind of skilled labor. Then they have to outsource it. So why not provide your CSME to outsource such labor?
Yeah.
And I think that's the crux of it. I think that's the benefit for all people. We have to look at how it's going to benefit all people.
Yeah, absolutely. Has to be a benefit. Can't just be sucking in labor, because I think that was the general fear here in the Bahamas, that we're going to get a bunch of people that we didn't want and that we can't find any work for. And so that's the fear. Yeah, that's what people were afraid of. And we definitely don't want that,
No.
In saying that though, I mean, they talk about the CSME at these meetings, but you don't see any significant action being taken afterwards. It's just chatter. The last person that made any significant statement about CSME was former Prime Minister Jamaica Bruce Golding when he had his report. Remember his report about, I think it was 6 years ago? Yeah, he was the last person to say anything significant about CSME and how it wasn't working, what could be changed about it. And afterwards, that was it. That was a wrap. I mean, the people at the CARICOM didn't even look at the damn report. They made no comments, no nothing.
What I understood after my participation in it last year, and even what I was covering here in our local parliament, it's that it comes down to each country's willingness to participate. So each country, we will see the effectiveness of the CSME when things are done locally within your parliament, and you change the policies to allow these work permits. It comes down to your work permit legislation and being able to enact it, and tie in the CSME into your work permit and legislation.
Yeah.
So we're not going to see any progress happening at the level of the CSME if that is not done.
Yeah.
So each country needs to do their thing in order to see it. And if they're not willing, like you said, if they have these notions that, oh, they're going to come and take our jobs and what's going to happen, if we've got that kind of notion, then we're not going to see it happen.
No, absolutely not. And honestly, there's no willingness to do it. If you were to bring up CSME here in the Bahamas again on a national level, this government would lose office the very next election.
It's a matter of the average person on the street understanding what it is and how it affects them.
Yeah, yeah. And they just don't appreciate it, and they'll tell you they understand free trade, they understand that it's good, that it makes things cheaper and gets services to you more efficiently, but they just don't want anything to do with any other foreigner coming in the Bahamas.
That's xenophobia.
Very much so.
Xenophobia taking root among our people.
Absolutely. And that's, I mean, at the end of the day, they have a right to fight for their country, but it is xenophobia. I mean, really it is.
Everyone is for themselves.
Yeah, selfish. But they all talk about their Haitian godmother though. They love their Haitian, and that's the same we have in my Haitian, called the Haitian, my Haitian. It's kind of racist too, I think. No, I feel it's a bit racist, it's a bit condescending too, I don't ever call anybody my Haitian or call the Haitian fella come weed my cut my grass. It's so racist, man. It's so gauche, It's so disgusting when you hear it, call my Haitian, call the Haitian fella.
So that's like what we see in Trinidad, the men usually they take the woman, the Venezuelan woman, and they make them into a piece of an object. They objectify that sense that they belong to them. You go to see a Spanish or Veni, and that is used. And it's denigrating to them. And some of them, those women, you look at them and they're educated women. You can't just look at them like that. They've got families, they're someone's daughter, they're someone's mother, wife, or even though they've got that notion, it's been a culture thing long time here in Trinidad. We've got brothels and they came across for it and things like that. But you've got to look at them differently. Not everyone that you see they're involved in that prostitution.
Kim, when I come to Trinidad, I want to school all the Venis. I want to school all the Douglas as well.
Douglas?
Yeah, I want to school all the Douglas, all the Douglas, and I want to school all the Venis. That's what I'm coming for. When I come to Trinidad, I want to scoop them all up. They're all mine.
Ladies, he did not just say that. Take note.
Yes, I did say that. I want to scoop up all the Venis and I want to scoop up all the Douglas. I was funny. I laughed my nose off when I heard what a Douglas was, a Douglas.
Douglas. It's called Douglas. It's actually an Indian term.
I know.
Douglas. So yeah, they're mixed.
I find it cute actually.
Yeah, I mean, it shows it's testament of our cosmopolitan society. It's testament of our heritage and mixing, intertwining of races here in Trinidad.
I heard that the Douglas, they feel kind of self-conscious about it as well. I don't know why. They're beautiful people.
I think it's because politics has been brought into play where you've got to mix and you've got to choose a side. It's either you're on the Indian side or you're either on the African side, but you're neither nor. You're a mixture of both. If you're going to tell them, okay, why don't you go back to where you come from? People see that.
boy.
So what are they supposed to do? Split themselves in half?
They could join Yuri. They could join Yuri and LimeVibe. All the Douglas girls could join Yuri and LimeVibe podcast. I'm going to come to Venezuela and scoop up all the Douglas girls. That's what I'm going to do. And all the Vennies as well. All the Douglas girls, they're mine, Kim. They're mine. I'm going to come to Carnival one year. I'm going to scoop them all up. You're going to see me with a bevy of them.
But you've got famous Douglas from Trinidad. Tatiana Ali is one of them. Nicki Minaj is Douglas as well.
Yeah. Her last name was Maharaj, isn't it?
Yes. And she shortened it. Kamala Harris is a Douglas.
She's a Douglas.
Kamala that because her father is Jamaican ancestry. He's Black, and her mother, even though she's Indian from India, she's South Indian, and it's what you would term as being a Douglas.
Yeah. She's a Douglas. We have a Douglas as a vice president. So they should be proud, Kim. It's not the color of your skin, it's the content of your character. It's who you believe you are. It's who you say you want to be. So I love them.
I wish people would see us in that sense. People like to pigeonhole you and say, okay, well, you're Indian. You have that texture here. What do you know about this? Well, and they dismiss you. And you might actually have more heart and character and a love and pride toward your country and its culture than those that you assume that should have more based on the texture of their hair and the color of their skin.
Yeah.
And I get annoyed with that often. That notion. What is it? What do you know? You're an Indian girl, a reporter. I'm saying it as, and then some of them will say, well, I didn't want to say it, but yes, I did think it. It is racism. It goes on. It plays there in your head.
Yeah. I think it's a part of your mentality as well, too. You need to break yourself from that mental slavery. You need to just shake it off, man. Because you'll find out that I found that, if I just tear off my prejudices, that people are a lot nicer than you would give them credit for. Even at first glance, you may have to have some reservations about people, but people are generally decent people, hardworking people. They don't have no preconceived notions about you at all. Whether you're Black or you're white or you're whatever, you're green. They have no preconceived notions about you. I find out about people. People are generally selfish and they care about themselves. And so they're going to look at you. They're going to say, first of all, they're going to ask, what are you going to do to me? And they don't think about you as a Indian or a Black or a white. They think of you as, who is this person? They think selfishly about themselves first. I find out about people. So if you just let that go and let that, brush it off your shoulder, you wouldn't think about it at all. And you'll find it doesn't play a factor into anything that you do. Anything that you do. The sky's the limit.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do the next Joe Rogan podcast.
When I look at myself, I like to look at myself as being a Caribbean woman. Yes, I am of Indian ancestry, but I live in the Caribbean. I am from Trinidad. We have a totally different culture. You can't think that I'm going to just be in a sari and have my hair oily and look a certain way all the time. I'm a Caribbean woman just as much as you are.
Yeah.
I try to diminish my heritage and me being here, living here, growing up in this region. I love the Caribbean. I love my people. And I boast about this region everywhere I go.
Yeah, you know more about this than I do, actually. You cover this like you love these people, man.
I mean, when you go abroad, people think, oh, they listen to how you speak, so they think you're British or so. But we have so much to offer as a region. The world does not have what we have. We are a melting pot of people.
Of course.
We have really way to dig. We don't even have to dig that deep. It's right there. You even watch the CARICOM, a welcome ceremony, you see the rich culture of dance and music that you all have. So what does these other cultures have? And we have much more.
Nothing.
Our food is our own. Our music is our own. The way we tell stories is our own.
Preach, Kim. Preach. Amen, sister. I agree with you. There's no place like the Caribbean. It's just that I don't want our leaders to take us down the road where they're going to destroy us. Because it's a beautiful place, And I will go to my grave saying this. The Caribbean does not need the level of violence that it has. It does not need the level of violence. We're killing it. We're destroying it, what God gave us. They took us from the East Coast. They took us from the motherland. They brought us here so we can have peace and prosperity. We're destroying it, Kim. We're destroying it. This violence has to stop.
It's a matter of trying to remember, what Eric Williams and Earl Barrow and these guys had their vision, even Chady Jagger and all of these guys had a vision when they signed that Treaty of Chagarama so many years ago.
Yeah.
To make us who we are. And I think we need to go back to that. What they envision for the region. You're hearing a lot of the leaders trying to invoke that. And I think it's about time we go back to our founding fathers. So when the federation was first formed.
Yeah, I agree. The Treaty of Chaguaramas, I've heard about that 100 times, a million times. And like you said, we need to revisit it.
Yes.
And they're supposed to have a revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, don't they?
Yes, there's a revised treaty. It builds on what was, said in the early years. And it builds on that, and they've revised it a few times. It incorporates the CSM, it incorporates the wider scope of how many member states we've grown to become. That makes CARICOM.
Yeah. But we had a Caribbean Union one time as well too, didn't we? We were all together one time, right? It was called the Caribbean Union of States, wasn't it? And I think the headquarters, the capital was in Jamaica until they broke away and they said, man, the hell with y'all. Too much of a drain on us. Ain't that something? Jamaica had the nerve to say the rest of the Caribbean was too much of a drain on them, and now they're on the brink of being Haiti. To be honest with you, they have so much people that they come to other Caribbean countries. They are draining other Caribbean countries as well. On the flip side, so I mean, it's just funny how things change, don't they? The upper hand is on the other foot, Kim. The upper hand is on the other foot.
We would see that we even had stronger relations. There was the ACP states, the African, Caribbean, Pacific states.
Yeah.
And that's on the production of sugar and export and things like that. So it's not far-fetched to think of, having relations with other nations outside of the North.
Yeah, I agree. At the same time, too, though, we need to work at it. We need to continue to work at it. But Kim, so
an hour went by.
Yeah, we have 2 more minutes actually, so let's fill this 2 minutes up with something. So like I said, they're gonna have the closing ceremony say on Friday. I'm gonna see what they got to say in between. I have the opening press conference as well. I'm gonna do that for the Caribbean Magazine Plus. I'm gonna put that into the Caribbean Magazine Plus for Friday, see what they have to say. I'm gonna follow this week as well to see if anything unusual pops up. They're also streaming live on their CARICOM website, the CARICOM Facebook. So I'm gonna follow it from there. Because I don't have accreditation to go in. I missed the chance to get accreditation. I'm sorry, folks, but I have access to the information. So I'm going to get the information. I'm going to bring that to you. So we're going to be back on Friday, and then the Caribbean Magazine Plus is going to publish on Friday as well. So if you haven't subscribed to that, subscribe to that. And also with the Caribbean Magazine Plus, we have ended our short story contest for 2023. So the call for submissions has ended on Tuesday, on the 14th of February. And so we're going to hand it over now to Dr. Nicola Hunt from the University of the West Indies, and she's going to mark and evaluate those. And then she's going to come back from the top 3. So stay on the lookout for that. And we have the Tropic Spin music and song competition as well. Again, we're getting sponsors coming in right now. So please, if you want to sponsor the Tropic Spin music and song competition, please email info@arawakmedia.com or info@tropicspin.com. That's TROPICSPIN.com. info@tropicspin.com if you want to be a sponsor. And you go to the tropicspin.com website. That's TROPICSPIN.com. And you can see exactly what we have planned. This is our second annual one, Kim. Our first one was kind of a success. We're going to make it even better because we have better equipment, we have better resources, and we know exactly what to do this time around. So you want to stay tuned for that. So Kim, any closing thoughts?
No, I know the Tropic Spin artist came from Jamaica. And,
yeah, the winner.
And she has great talent, and even the submissions.
She did our theme song for us actually. Sorry, she did our theme song for us for the LimeVibe. She did the theme song. That's her singing.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then the submissions that have been coming in the poetry contest, they've been quite good, and I appreciate that. It's quite a reputable judging panel that gotten. that Carib Magazine Plus can boast about.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
really something to be proud of.
Yeah,
And
gotta
now
do it for the future.
even got the book where the compilations of everything. So it's there.
Yeah. Our sub-editor is taking a bit long to finish the book. I don't know why, but we're gonna finish it before the end of this month again. The book of poetry, the book of short story, the first book of poetry, the first book of short stories is already out on Amazon, so you can go check that out. And so in the meantime as well, so Kim, that's it. So I just want to say goodnight to everybody. This is your recap, Buff Daddy from Nassau, Bahamas, the host of Caribbean, the host of LimeVibe podcast with our host, the beautiful Kimberly Ramkalama from Trinidad. So I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much. Goodbye.